Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
I'm Jessie Cruikshank, and I've always been told I have a face for podcasting. So I launched a podcast. It's called Phone a Friend because each week I'll break down the biggest stories in pop culture. But when I have questions, I get to phone a friend. I'll phone a royal watcher to find out why Prince Harry is acting like a real housewife. I'll phone a tween to please explain Euphoria. And maybe I'll even phone a Backstreet Boy to find out if I still have a chance. I don't? Okay. New episodes drop every Thursday wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hi, it's Dave here, and this is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinemile, the podcast where we walk home from the movies. And this is our 250th episode. Spectacular.
The 250th time we've walked home from the movies.
Yes.
And remembered to record it.
And we have walked home from many different cinemas in many different countries, in many different homes, over many different years. How long are we doing this? 6 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2016 I think we started.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Big
Thanks
deal for us.
for being here.
Thanks for listening.
Kathy, thanks for being here, listeners.
Thanks for being here, Dave.
Surprised people are still here and listening to us, but yes.
Here we are. I'm amazed as well because when I thought about it, it's our 250th episode of the Cinemile where we walk home from the movies. But we've done actually so many more other episodes where we watch like retro movies or TV shows or over on our Patreon or wherever. So I actually reckon we've probably done about 400 episodes.
Pushing 400.
Yeah, but this is 250th official Cinemile walk home from the movies.
Yeah.
And when we did the maths and realised that our 250th episode was going to fall in the week of the most anticipated movie of the decade.
Decade? Are you
We
taking
lost
the
our
piss?
shit.
The century.
The century.
Maybe the millennium.
I don't watch movie trailers, right? Dave sent me this movie trailer and was like, no, you have to watch it. And I was like, okay. And as it kicked in, I nearly had a heart attack. I can't fucking believe this movie exists.
You hadn't heard of it until this trailer. This movie I have been keenly following since like 2017. You know, it was in like limbo hell since they shot it in like 2018 or something.
Why?
So guys, what are we talking about? We're talking about Michael Flatley's Blackbird, the movie written, directed, produced, starring. He probably did all the editing himself.
Presumably bankrolled.
100% bankroll. This is basically, it is the money, the movie that a ridiculous amount of Riverdance money gets you if you want to pretend to be James Bond.
I can't wait. I think the trailer looks good though.
Good?
Yeah.
In what way?
As in it looks like a
Like
wannabe
good-
Bond.
Yeah,
But
clearly.
like maybe with a nudge and a wink at the camera, like they know it's kind of ridiculous. That's what I'm hoping
That's
for.
what you're expecting?
I'm
Oh.
also expecting
Oh,
like, Michael
honey.
Flatley to be really po-faced, but like for the people around him to be a nod and a wink.
Oh wow, no, I'm expecting the complete opposite of that. I think this is completely 100% sincere. Like, this is Michael Flatley and everybody else around them doing the work of their lives because this is good material and it's dead serious, and he's a former spy. And bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
When he said bless me, Father, for I have sinned, like I nearly had a
Kathy,
heart attack.
there isn't a shred of self-awareness evident in any of the marketing of this movie.
But who needs self-awareness when you're a millionaire and you can just make whatever movie you want to star in?
But that's exactly my point. This is I have a shitload of money and I want to be a movie star. I'm going to be James Bond. Let's do it.
Well, there's
and
a lot of
that's
people talking about it.
what happens.
We are celebrating our 250th episode. We're going to see this movie. It's extremely rare you get Irish movies in the cinema. Now, I don't know if we'd kind of class
This
this
is
as
an
an Irish movie.
No, it's a Michael Flatley
Because
movie.
Michael Flatley's
he is
not
not
Irish.
doing this for the Irish people.
But I feel
He's
like
doing it
there
for
was
Michael Flatley.
I feel like there was a hint of Irish accents being thrown around in the trailer, and it's going to have Irish vibes. Like it's like an Irish James Bond, but not Pierce Brosnan.
I should hope and expect there are Irish vibes. Well,
I should hope and expect that at one point he leaps into Riverdance.
Well, he's playing a character called Vincent Blackley, who's a former Secret Service operative known as part of an underground circle of like hitmen or something,
Okay, stop
and they are
reminding me
called
of the premise.
the Chieftains.
Oh my god!
So I'm
and like we
pretty
actually
sure there's some Irish slants to
we
this.
got quite into the Riverdance in the pandemic because there was this brilliant kids Riverdance movie that came out.
It's not brilliant, by the way. It's a terrible
But
movie.
the dancing's brilliant in it. And our kid loved it and he got really into Riverdance. So we were actually showing him the original Eurovision segment. And okay, you can be like, it's very 90s, it's a little bit naff now.
It is
but that
fantastic.
dance, he was like enraptured by this. And at the time he was 2 and he literally sat gobsmacked and watched it. And it brought me right back to that moment when we all watched Riverdance. So anyway, I'm
never
expecting
forget.
dancing.
You know, there's like, the people say you never forget where you were for
You
moon
never forget
landing,
your first
JFK,
time.
9/11. I will never forget where I was when I saw Riverdance
It was
for the
epic.
first time live in front of the unveiled for the rest of the world. At the mid, it was the interval show at Eurovision. Like it was
Yeah.
like a
Big
hey,
deal.
we're gonna go count the votes now. Here's something to fill some space, and then this thing comes out and it fucking blew everything else at Eurovision.
We
out
used
of
to have
the
it on
water.
VHS at home, like
It
I
was
used to just watch
incredible.
it. But anyway, that's the energy I'm bringing to this because I believe he was like the creative director of Riverdance. So therefore I believe he's got creative abilities and I'm here for it.
By the way, yeah, I'm not putting down the man's achievements or his talents in that space. I mean, he has clearly he not only produced an incredible and unrivaled sort of piece of choreography and music and was heavily involved with that, but he turned it into a business and a legitimate worldwide phenomenon.
It's a franchise. Like that movie
So,
we were talking about.
he's
Like,
earned
he
his
would have
money.
made money even just from that kids movie.
The question is, do I think that whatever that is translates to writer, director, producer of a spy movie?
And we hold our
star?
judgment. Hold your judgment, Dave.
My judgment.
Save it for after the movie.
I am highly skeptical, but I am so skeptical because I'm so excited. If you can't tell, I'm excited, not because I'm a fan of Michael Flatley's work and think this is going to be good. I'm fascinated at what it appears to be somebody with no self-awareness and a load of money and nobody saying no to him, and this is what it will produce.
Well, I guess someone said no to him if it was made in like 2017, 2018 and it's only coming out now.
The only thing that said
it-
no to him was the pandemic.
A global pandemic is the only thing that can stop
Only thing that
Michael
can stop
Flatley.
this movie.
Also, I do want to say as a side note, because we started this podcast when we lived in London and we now live in Cork, where we're both from. It's quite cool for me that for our 250th episode we're actually walking to the Gate Cinema because that was where we went on our very first date way back when.
That's right. Yeah.
What did we see again?
I don't remember.
It was a zombie movie.
Oh yeah, it was George A. Romero's Land of the Dead.
Yes, what a movie to start a relationship
Wow,
on. We
not-
can't remember it.
I remember it. It's an okay movie, but certainly, yeah, not a great date movie.
I'm sure we
Weird
overanalyzed it afterwards.
First date movie. Yeah, I guess we had a good walk home that time.
Anyway, I'm delighted. Thank you so much to all our loyal listeners, even the ones who stuck with us through a pandemic when, we couldn't get to the cinema. Episodes fell off a bit of a cliff. And here we are, back in the cinema again.
Cinema's back, baby.
Yeah,
Cinema. Everyone's worried about the state of cinema, but look, Michael Flatley's making movies, so we're fine.
Well, it's
he's got enough money to fund the entire industry.
Do you know what else,
for the
though?
rest of eternity?
2 things on
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah.
First of all, it's National Cinema Day, we forgot to say.
Oh, yeah.
So, literally,
So
the
we're paying what?
trifecta.
€4 for this or something?
250th episode, Blackbird, the movie, and National Cinema Day, where it's €4 tickets. So, hello.
Yeah, this is.
It was meant to be. My second
That is
point
why
on
this
that
is
is
spectacular.
Michael Flatley like bringing cinema back, like that's legitimate. Like I feel now there's going to be like multiple iterations of Blackbird, like it's a franchise for life, and I haven't even seen it yet.
Is it making bucks?
He knows
It's
how to
just
franchise.
open. I don't know.
If there's a dance sequence in it, he's nailed it. Isn't I question its future.
I don't
right,
think so.
we need to go into the
Right,
Gate
let's
Cinema.
go watch it.
Final point.
Yeah.
This isn't Screen 1 in Gate Cinema on a Saturday night.
Oh.
I mean,
well, do you know this is
they're
one of-
betting on it.
But this is also like the most famous movie drought in history. Like, last weekend had the lowest box office in the US in like years.
Is
It was
Blackbird
worse
getting-
than during the pandemic last week because there's a drought
There's
of
no
movies.
movies, yeah. So is
So
Blackbird
that-
getting a cinematic release like in the States? I know it is in England and
I
Ireland.
don't know. It's
Well, it's going to
here
bring
anyway.
cinema back for
I
world
hope
cinema.
so, guys. I hope our
Yeah.
listeners in the States are able to experience whatever we're about to experience.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye. It's only 90 minutes as well.
Oh my god, yeah, because
Yeah.
I was like, if it's a vanity project, it's going to be like 4 hours long. No, Clean 90
No,
minutes.
I really admire the restraint.
I'd say what happened
Or
is...
they didn't have enough material.
No, I'd say they actually had hours worth of footage. And because it's not a vanity project, he realised a lot of it was terrible and let someone cut it.
Yeah.
90 minutes does not say vanity project to me.
I admire your
It's not
optimism.
a director. You know when you watch a director's cut, it's like 4 hours long, it's tedious as hell. That's not this, unless Blackbird, the director's cut, is due soon.
No, you're right. He's a man who knows.
He knows his
He's got a
audience.
vision.
Yeah.
And here we're about to experience it. See you in 90 minutes.
Bless me, Dave, for I have sinned.
Is today the day you wish to confess your sins?
Not today. My sins are my own.
You heard about the incident in London?
Blake Molyneux is extremely dangerous. This is our chance. We must get Victor involved. No one can do what he does.
I'm not the man I used to be.
The Blackbird is dead.
You're the only one who can stop this. We've got to come back and fight.
When are we gonna get past this? I'll never get past this!
You can't just hide from the world.
Victor Blackley, I believe you have something in mind.
Who I am is none of your concern. And what I do is out of your control. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. And I'm about to sin again.
Hi, we're back. We've just seen Michael Flatley's Blackbird.
I've never
That's the
seen
closing credits.
I've never seen Or Nahar like said in full in a film.
Yeah,
before.
I was thinking the same. Not only that, such a big budget blockbuster film like this. Guys, if it's your first time at the Cinemile, welcome to our 250th episode, and we don't spoil the movie until we get to Spoiler Street. However, I'll tell you right now, don't watch this movie. Wait until they create a YouTube highlights reel of all the best bits of Blackbird, which will probably be about 4 minutes long.
I disagree.
Watch that. And
Disagree.
I will spoil. We'll spoil the movie shortly. You disagree? You think this is
Disagree.
worth a trip to the cinema?
It was so fun. Everyone was laughing throughout the whole movie, and at the end, our screen erupted into cheers
applause
and applause.
and cheers.
Come on!
Now, here's the
And
question.
we're
Here's the
also-
question.
no, we're also
Kathy.
always saying people should go to the cinema and support cinema. So
Yeah.
why would you tell people to watch a YouTube?
Because I'll tell you why. Because that was incredibly boring.
It wasn't.
It was. It was so boring,
It
Kathy.
was boring towards the end, but at the
No.
I maintain at the beginning it wasn't boring.
It was incredibly boring throughout. It was one of the most boring films I've ever watched. It was
Disagree.
not so bad it was good. It was so bad it was bad. With
Disagree.
moments that were really funny, and which I think would be a perfect little YouTube
Yeah,
clip.
but it only works as a sum of its parts because you're sitting there going, sorry, am I watching a movie where the opening scene is a priest saying Arnar in the lashing rain and everyone's got umbrellas and
Now-
jackets on except Michael Flatley, who's wearing a jauntily placed hat.
We have to talk about
It's
Michael Flatley's hat
being
game.
Drenched by the rain.
He
It's
wears-
apparently a monsoon.
He wears a variety of hats in this movie. He's rarely without a hat, and he wears it at a 35-degree angle at all times. And it could be described as jaunty, but I think he thinks it's sexy.
I disagree with a sexy personally.
Um,
May I, like all the other
Umbrellas
women,
up. Umbrellas
up.
Just
Horses
like
raining.
a funeral filled with CIA agents.
Yeah, but if this was a
Or Secret Service
Michael
agents.
Flatley would refuse to
How
put
does
the
this
umbrella up.
umbrella work? Can I ask you a question though?
Going
into this movie, you maintained that this film, you are unable to open this umbrella.
I
Here,
cannot
you hold the
open the
microphone
umbrella,
and
yeah.
I'll do it. Okay. Going
Thank
into this
you.
movie, you maintained, at having watched this trailer, that the people involved in this were giving a knowing wink and were in on the joke.
Yeah.
Do you now maintain that premise?
Yes, because Michael Flatley
What?
winked multiple times
He was
throughout the
winking.
movie.
He was winking at women who were less than half his age.
Dave, he also
who
winked-
were telling him how handsome he looks tonight.
He also
which
winked-
are words that he wrote He wrote that.
He winked at
and
a
directed
priest.
it. Asked young female actresses to say it to him.
Yeah. He winked at a priest, he winked at young women, so there was winking. And then there was a blonde actress in the film who, whenever she didn't realise the camera on her, was just fully laughing.
She was smiling. Yeah,
Like she at all
but
times,
that's sorry.
she was in
I'm not,
grave danger, and then she was smiling again. So yeah, I do actually still think it was.
You
a bit
think
of a joke.
she was in on it? Like this is all a bit of a laugh. Okay, no, I don't think people are in on this joke. I think they're being directed by a complete narcissist who is like, I'm sorry, this man has just conducted a multi-million-dollar teenage fantasy. Like, and this is a movie in which the lead character is so important that all the dialogue is about how he is the only man who can do this job. The opening is Patrick Bergin saying, I don't know what we're going to do. He's the only man who could do what he can do. Which is pretty much the dialogue that Michael Flatley wrote. Throughout the movie, the course of the movie, he's this reluctant, retired Secret Service agent. And Patrick Bergin is telling the team, you've got to get Blackbird on this. He's the only man who could do it, despite the fact that there is a completely capable team of Secret Service agents around him doing all the work who are unable to complete the mission because only he can do the job. Now, the funniest thing about this movie is that there are 2 action scenes in the whole movie. Mm-hmm. This is ostensibly an action movie. One of them. Come on, have you seen the poster?
It's not billed as an action movie. I have to tell you something.
What?
I actually screen grabbed it earlier as proof.
What?
When I went to book the tickets today on the Gate website, the genre said romance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I screen grabbed to tell you and I forgot.
Okay, to be fair, this is far more of a romance movie than an action or a spy or a thriller movie, because it is neither thrilling nor filled with spy action.
Certainly not romantic.
It has 2 action scenes, but it does not succeed as a romance.
But anyway, back to the fight scenes.
The fight scenes. There are 2 fight scenes in this movie. One of them is over in 3 punches. And is absurd. And naturally
more on that
ends.
Spoiler Street.
Yeah.
More on that.
The other one is built up and built up and built up, and then they cut away because Michael Flatley can't direct an action
That's
scene.
exactly what I thought.
There is no action in this movie.
So there's 2 things that you need for an action scene, right? First of all, you need like an actor who's really fit and can fight. And
what are you
secondly,
saying? What are you saying about Michael Flatley's fitness
I'm
levels?
saying he's the 65-year-old man. And then the second point is you need a really good director who's like trained in the art of action directing. So when you have neither, the fucking good choice is to cut away. He made the right decision.
Okay.
What you do instead is you linger for 20 minutes over a battle of the wills on a poker table.
Oh, God.
That's what you do.
Can we please go to Spoiler Street to talk about
We can't go to Spoiler Street yet,
All
because
right,
I just want to talk about a few things.
Go
So
on.
I had a different experience from you in that I actually loved watching this in cinema. I thought it was so funny. I love being in the cinema when like everyone else is laughing, and the first laugh of the cinema came when this like incredibly good looking young woman said something along the lines of, "Hey sexy, why don't you loosen up a bit? Life's for living." The whole cinema erupted into like laughter, and then continued to laugh throughout when this young woman inexplicably threw herself. Now there is 2 reasons that she would have thrown herself at him. 1, he's a millionaire. 2,
oh yes, by the way, everyone, his character in this movie is a millionaire, because Michael Flatley cannot imagine writing a character that is not a multi-millionaire.
Well, look, this is the kind of character he was writing. That's fine, that's his choice. Secondly, he's in a position of power to her. Thirdly, there's no other reason that she was trying it on with him.
So does that not make it creepy?
It makes it fair. I'm not saying it's not creepy. I'm just saying I enjoy the audience's reaction to it. I don't think that was the reaction he intended. The other thing I really enjoyed about it, and this is very weird, and this is where you can tell the film was shot pre-pandemic, right? Michael Flatley gets closer up in people's faces than I've personally ever experienced.
It was so
like, you don't get that close to me, and we're married. So to the point where not only like when he was talking to someone, he'd be like right up in their face. When there's 3 different female characters in the film, that when he's talking to them, he actually presses and then rests his cheek against their cheek
and his forehead
for more than like a couple of seconds.
He also does it to one of the villains. Did you notice?
At the
end,
it.
he gets right up to the villain's nose.
No, but they don't do the cheek. The cheek thing is like a tender way that, like, maybe you'd imagine like a grandmother like caressing one of her grandkids. It's the only kind of situation where it's appropriate. He does that to young women who he's employing, right? And what's so mad about it is because he is both the director and the writer and the actor. He doesn't he clearly doesn't think that's creepy, because at no point is it framed as creepy. It's framed as like, God, he's just like one of the gang. It's like, you're 40 years older than these women. It's so creepy.
That's what I mean. He is in a position of power, both in the movie, which, as you've described, the character is, but from a meta sense, he is controlling all the shots. Like, do you think this movie had an intimacy coordinator?
No, but there's no
instance?
intimacy in it, though.
No,
like,
to be fair, there isn't. But there aren't. But there are a couple of moments where I'm like, this is just wrong. All the women in this movie are
way younger.
basically way younger, but they're also just like either vacuous or incompetent, or
he can't write female characters,
or they need the men to do that. And there are several times where he mostly his character either asks women to do things for him, or like such as like things that are beneath him, like look into this person.
Now, in fairness, he's doing that to everyone, though. He seems to be everyone's boss.
Yes, but that's the only time he interacts with women, if it's not that, or just having them throw themselves at him. Or he sends them away out of harm's way, which is the other thing.
I have one more point to make before I get spoiler shoot, which is like, and this is now the sign of... So I would say, first of all, this movie by no means was as badly written as I thought it was going to be, and is by no means as poor as I thought it was going to be, right? It's better than I thought it was going to be, I'm going to say that. However, like, the biggest writing flaw of this film is that there are multiple times when characters know things and have information that they shouldn't know, and we've never seen them get.
Yeah.
So there's so many scenes where I'm like,
that
so
person
confused.
does not know that information.
Know that.
Yeah,
why
exactly.
are they talking about it?
Yeah.
So it's almost like they maybe filmed scenes where they found out what was happening and then they cut it, or else it was just kind of poorly written in the first place. They never got that in. So that was actually, to me, the most homemade feel of the movie. Like, that's actually not normal in a cinematic
like
release.
the little details had not been thought through.
Exactly. So that's the bit where I was like, this feels like a made at home movie that like an amateur person wrote. That was like when I really felt that, because other than that I didn't quite feel that, because there's a lot of money in the movie. And then,
but sorry, you've just hit the nail on the head. This is a homemade like vanity project,
Dave, it's
with
made
a
by
ridiculous
Dance Lord Productions.
amount of money.
It's made by Dance Lord Productions. They're a legitimate production company.
This movie looks like a real movie.
It does look like a real
movie.
movie.
It looks, the cinematography is
fine.
Really well done. There's a really good single tracking shot through a hotel. Like,
that being said, they use the tracking shot too much, though.
But that's what's so odd to me, is that he has hired a massive film crew who are clearly quite competent and capable. Like, this is like, it is not like The Room, right, where it is like everything is like wrong.
I actually don't think
it presents as a movie, but
I don't think he's a bad director, by the way. I actually don't.
But sorry,
I don't think he's a bad actor. I think his biggest flaw is a writer.
My question is, I think his biggest flaw is a writer and director and actor. My question is, if he has all this money and wanted to do this. This is where he's this is where he is lacking the self-awareness of his own ability, that he hired a competent cinematographer to do their job. They did it effectively. It looks great. He hired a competent editor to edit the things together, blah blah blah. The sound is all crisp and clear. Why does he think he can direct a movie? Why wouldn't he have hired a capable director and had another writer have a go at this?
But why? But he's.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm guessing
that would have made this better, and
but
still he could have starred
and
and pranced around in his white tuxedo.
I'm guessing that he wants to be a director, wants to be a writer, and wants to be an actor, and has the means to make that dream happen. I am not here to begrudge him that. I really amn't. I don't think he did a terrible job. I think there's a lot of problems with the film, but like by no means on any scale is this one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
No, sorry, it is not one of the worst movies I've ever seen, but it is not a good movie. It's a bad movie. But
I also love that, like, and I know I'm such a softie for the cinema, but like, I love that he's actually put this out in cinema and not on a streaming service. And I just think, I'm actually really admire what he's doing. So I'm sorry, I think it's cool if someone has the money. If I had the money, I'd do that too. If I really wanted to be a movie director or a movie writer, actually two things I would love to be. The actress bit, no, I wouldn't. I'd love to be able to bankroll my own film and put it out in the cinema.
What would your film be about?
I don't know, but I'd love to be able to do it, so I don't begrudge him at all.
Sorry, I'm not begrudging him. I'm just telling you what I thought of the movie I watched and his abilities, which I think little of either. Do you think that's fair?
I think that's really fair, yeah. What do you think of him as an
I'm not
actor?
begrudging him how he can spend his money all he wants.
What do you think
if
of
he's
him as
going to
an
bring
actor?
people into the cinema and in August and we're all going to laugh and cheer along, then fine. What do I think of him as actor? I think he is certainly fine.
Yeah, he's not notably bad.
Here's an important fact. He is not the worst actor in this movie.
No.
Like by a long shot. He's
also
down the list because there are better actors than him here. Eric Roberts is clearly
oh my god, that's what I want to say.
the
I
most
loved him.
accomplished actor in this and is having a lot of fun.
I loved Eric Roberts.
Yeah, and he lifts this movie.
Yeah, he really does.
But Michael Flatley, is he a terrible actor? No. Did I buy him as this character?
I bought him, you see. I think his character is ludicrous, but if I put aside the
ludicrosity.
Ludicrosity, is that a word? Of the character, putting all that aside, and do I believe that he could win in a fight? No. But putting those two things aside, I think he carried the role fairly well. I admire that he didn't give himself too much dialogue, because I actually think that's a road that like he could have gone down and it would have been terrible. He had such minimal dialogue that I was actually like, is he supposed to be Irish or American? I wasn't hearing enough of his accent. I think he was supposed to be Northern Irish, I think. But actually, yeah.
He's definitely supposed to be Irish.
I admired his restraint because he could have given himself a lot more dialogue. But we need to get to Spoiler Street.
Let's go to spoilers
so
now.
You're saying people need to watch the YouTube cut down, and I'm saying spend all your money on going to see this in the cinema.
I mean, go see it today when it's cheap.
Yeah.
Don't. I mean, I cannot, in good conscience, recommend this movie.
It was so fun, though.
But it wasn't. I'm sorry. This is my point. I'm a sucker for a so bad it's good movie, but they have to be like The Room is just like, what is this? This is mental.
I can't watch The Room though. I think it's like watching paint dry watching The Room. Like this ticked along. It was
the problem is that
short.
This movie is too competent. It's do you know what I mean? It's like it's actually just so fine for the most of it that it's so boring and dull, and I think it's unforgivably dull.
But then you remember that he wrote it. And then you'd fucking piss yourself because
anytime he was on screen with his tilted hat, looking wistfully
so
into
fun.
the distance, and like saying things like, I can't go through with it. I can't go back. We walked away from that life.
When he said, "Who I am is none of your concern, and what I do is out of your control." Like, there's some good lines in here.
Oh,
but
fantastic!
Whenever someone would comment on how hot he is, that the reason why the audience was laughing is because the audience knows he's written that for himself.
He wrote that.
Whereas if it was like, if he hadn't written it, I don't think the audience would have been laughing, and that's why I enjoyed it, because it was kind of meta. That it was so ludicrous.
But imagine having the audacity and the complete lack of embarrassment to write that on a page about a character you're going to inhabit, then stand on a set full of people and tell a ridiculously attractive woman who's less than half your age to tell you how handsome you look tonight.
He's like, it's not me, it's the character, okay? The character's really handsome.
It's what the script demands.
Exactly. But the funny thing is, we're laughing at it, but how many movies do we watch? Hello, Bond, where men are this unattractive and for no reason at all young women are throwing themselves at them. So it's only funny because it's him. But anyway, we need to get Spoiler Street.
Yeah. Okay, so spoilers now for Michael Flatley's Blackbird. I'm so happy to say that sentence. Here's the main thing, I think, which we both agree with.
I'm going hunting Blackbird next spring.
Oh my god! What does that even mean?
It means
people don't hunt blackbirds. That's the stupidest statement.
To cut straight to the end, and you should be turned off by now if you haven't seen it yet, because you should see it. To cut straight to the end, the bad guy's like, if you've given me the wrong thing,
we're getting a sequel.
If you've given me the wrong thing, I'll come and I'll hunt blackbirds in spring.
Yeah.
It ends, he gives him the wrong thing, your man finds out, great, Michael Flatley's happy out now, he's got his new girlfriend.
Yeah, because everything's fine, and they'll never find him, because it's not like he owns a very prominent hotel in Barbados.
And owns the biggest house in Ireland.
It's like, why is he a millionaire? They never explain it. And also, why did... I get it, it's like he wants to get out of that life and set up a hotel in Barbados, whatever.
Yeah, of course.
But why does his entire work team from a Secret Service agent come with him?
I know, and he's like,
that doesn't make any sense.
We said we want to get out of the business, but they all seem to be still in the business, so I got very confused.
Yeah, exactly. The woman is still phoning Patrick Bergen in London, who's like, you are not capable of doing this job, even though there are 4 of you.
Would you have recognised Patrick Bergen if he wasn't in the credits?
No, he's
and I say that as someone who loves Sleeping with the Enemy, of which he's a star.
Yes.
With Eric Roberts' sister, hello.
Oh my god, yeah.
And B, I've actually met him in real life.
6 degrees.
No big deal. A long time ago. And I still wouldn't have recognised him. So there we go.
He had some of the worst lines in this movie.
He was terrible. He wasn't terrible, his lines were terrible. What about, we need to talk about the blonde woman. I'm fascinated by her character.
Okay, so
right?
Vivian, who is the worst spy
the worst
ever.
spy of all time.
So here's this why this movie is baffling, right?
This as soon as like the last act of the movie, I was like, this is terrible now, completely unravelled. That's where all of a sudden everyone knew everything they shouldn't have known. Meanwhile, she didn't know as a spy that she was married to an arms dealer.
Sorry, can we talk about her plot from the beginning? She shows up at this hotel, sees Nick, okay, Michael Flatley's colleague, and they have this moment where it's like they recognise each other, and then Eric Roberts is like, "Do you know my fiancée?" And he's like, "Uh-oh," and then they're like, "No, not at all." And you're like, "Oh shit, she's a..." Oh, sorry. You're like, "Oh shit, she's undercover."
Yeah.
And then you find out when we work together, it's like, "Oh, she's a spy." And then she flat out tells Michael Flatley, "Yes, the agency put me on him to keep an eye on him." So you're like, "Oh shit, yeah, she was sent to spy on him." And then she's like, "No, but then I fell in love with him and he's a good guy and I wanted to get out."
And we've been together for 5 years.
And then your man Nick later is like, "He's not a good..." This is literally the dialogue. "He is not a good guy. He's a bad guy. He's an
international arms dealer.
He has a coin with some... He's an international arms dealer." And he also doesn't give her any of the required information, like about the coin, the MacGuffin, or any of this
nothing.
stuff. And then she's like, "No, you're wrong. He's lovely." And then she's like, in a moment, and only in this moment, where she has spent 5 years with this man who is conducting business and tells
if they
her,
had said 6
"I have
months,
a
I'd have believed
business meeting."
They should have said they're together 6 months.
Yeah, it's like you are the worst spy in the world. And then you open up a briefcase and see a disc with no label or any identifying information on it, and she knows nothing about this thing, and she's like, "Oh." And then in that moment she's like, this is also why she's such a bad spy. He goes, "What's wrong, darling?" "Nothing. I'm going to go get some water." That's the best thing she could come up with, which is quickly unravelled. And not only that, she then goes to Victor to give him the thing, says, "Oh my God, I'm so..." That's one of the worst scenes ever.
That was terrible.
And they're both like, "If you don't know, I always loved you."
That was wild to me, right? So she goes to Victor and she's like, "I have the mini disc thing," and Victor's like, "That's the code, the evil code that will kill everyone in the world."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh," she doesn't go, "Sorry, wait a second."
Yeah,
what
like,
code? What are you talking about?
She had none of that information.
Any of that. Like at most, I think she thought maybe her boyfriend was dealing in like nuclear arms.
She
or something.
opened her fiance's briefcase,
which, by the way, Eric Roberts
she left
didn't
unlocked on the bed.
Like with this thing that's worth like millions of dollars, I guess, that could wipe out half the planet.
Yeah.
It's like suddenly they're trying to make an Avengers movie. Like that was all so wild. Like they suddenly made the stakes way too high.
Can we
they raised the stakes so high and then did nothing to meet them.
Can we pause on what they explained that to be? This is a formula which allows you to completely repair your immune system and boost it and fix any disease.
Yeah.
That's what he said. So basically you become Wolverine. And then that is never mentioned again.
No.
So it's
Dave,
like
they change one element and then it will kill all the people you want to kill.
Like, and then he's like, "Yeah, but if you change one element, you kill all these people." So it's just like, but hang on, what about the positive applications of this thing? It's like,
and Michael Flatley's like, "I want nothing to do with it."
And then Michael Flatley's like...
He's like, "I'm running this hotel in Barbados, I'm busy." And then the Game of Thrones guy was like, "No, we have to do something." And he was like really enraged that Michael Flatley wouldn't. But instead of doing something himself about
he
it,
just went off and got drunk and fell into an alley. It's like, you could do it.
Yeah.
He's like, no, he's like, basically he's someone in an office who like escalates something to management and then says, and then he's like, "Oh well, I guess I'll just go get drunk in an alley."
He had all the tools to deal with it. All they had to do was chuck it in the ocean or whatever, which no one did. But anyway, all that aside, on the balcony, she suddenly says to Michael Flatley, "This is completely unearned now. By the way, we have to go back a little bit to when Michael Flatley first sees her and she's with Eric Roberts." And instead of saying, hi, like, instead of saying, "Oh, hi,
so
I'm actually an old friend of your fiance's," or even her saying to Eric,
or him saying
old friend.
anything to him, he ignores Eric Roberts.
Yeah, but
walks past him, says, "Can I dance to her.
You should be like, because I was thinking, right, like you say you're not a jealous person at all, right, which I am, and if I'm sitting there with you and we're like watching a lounge singer sing Mac the Knife,
and then
you
a
go,
stranger comes up and asks you to dance.
No, I'm thinking if they asked you to dance, right, and you go, and for some reason you had this wildly intimate dance where your cheeks are like touching against each other and you're like stroking each other and hugging each other, and then you sat down again,
and then you rest your foreheads against each other, and then you hear them say, aren't you going to say anything? I just did.
And then I'd be like, honestly, after you said that, I'd be like, babe, are you okay?
And then he says, what does he say? He says, instead Eric Roberts says to her, what did he say to you? And then she said, he said I have a nice dress, which also doesn't make any of that okay.
So she should have actually said, God, that's actually really inappropriate of me. That's my old friend. Like, he's actually my uncle because he's so fucking old. Anyway, so none of that got explained.
Oh my God.
And then flash forward to the next scene, we see them together, they're on the balcony. He's like, oh, that's an algorithm that's going to wipe out half the planet. She's like, cool. Then she goes, I always loved you.
She goes back to
no,
the
but
guy's
before
apartment.
that she goes, I always loved you. And then she goes, and you always loved me too. I'm like, wait, no, sorry. The love of his life was burned alive at the stake.
Yeah, which you have established over and
so
over
why
again,
is he suddenly
beating us over the head with that flashback.
So when I'm saying characters in that scene of information they shouldn't have, we as a viewer, there's no information there for us. I'm like, okay, all we saw was one scene of her at the funeral where she was kind of looking out the window. She also says to him, I'm so sorry that I never offered my condolences last time we met and said I'm sorry for your loss.
At the funeral. You were at the funeral, standing next to him. In fact, she goes over and shakes his hand.
And
so for
only
10
thing,
years she's thinking, I should have said I'm sorry for your loss at the funeral.
The first thing you say to anyone at a funeral in Ireland is, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
So she missed her social cue. And then she goes to him, because she's always smiling, this actress, right? It's bizarre. She goes, haven't seen you until I thought you were dead. And he's just like, no, I'm not dead. It's like, cool. Anyway, I always loved you. Yeah, I always loved you too. Let's make out. And you know the way we said he loves a panning shot?
Yeah.
So they press their lips together so tight, like it's
so
a
gross.
1930s Hollywood movie.
So gross.
And then they kind of squish their heads together and moved their lips. They didn't open their mouths, they just moved their heads while their lips stayed in the same position. That's kind of the best way I can think to describe. While a drone
that's what the intimacy coordinator told them to do.
A tracking shot zoomed around them in circles to like make sure that we got every angle of this awful kiss. So everyone in the cinema's laughing at that as well.
Meanwhile,
and then it descended into utter madness.
Sorry, meanwhile the young girl who is obsessed with Michael Flatley is watching in the sideline.
Oh my God.
So enraged with jealousy.
Previous scene, for anyone who didn't see the movie, she actually walked into his room wordlessly, took off her robe, all she had underneath it was a thong.
This is the young girl who is obsessed with it.
And she stood and like took her robe off, and we got like a side view of her breast, and we saw her bum, she was in a thong. And then Michael Flatley come over, put the robe back on her and kicked her out of the room. He was like, I don't do that. I think he thought we as an audience would be like, that's so great, like he's such a kind of moralistic man.
Yeah,
but we as the audience are like, you wrote for that actress to come in and show her boobs to you.
Exactly, that backfired Michael Flatley.
Big time.
Yeah.
So anyway, then your one goes off again after this declaration of love, and then he goes off and plays poker for 20 minutes. Now that's when I agree with you, the movie got boring.
Now can we talk about the poker scene?
Yes.
Because that's a terrible poker scene.
So boring. I think they were trying to go for, was it Casino Royale?
Yeah. Oh, it's
Big time.
It so has a hard on for James Bond.
To the point where it's like, are you just copying it?
But
or are you like mocking it?
There's no tension. There's no tension. Also, you can't like replicate a scene that Austin Powers did better in a spoof 20 years ago.
And you also can't be like, I'm watching it, it's like, but I don't care who wins the poker game because you're both millionaires.
Can I say exactly? Can I say here's what happens in the final like showdown in the on the final hand. He's gone all in, and then they reveal their cards, and it's like look, I can't remember exactly what they had, but say it's like Eric Roberts has a full house and.
Whatever. It's like
Michael
Flatley
has
like
a royal flush, right? Whatever. They both essentially have two incredibly good and rare hands because of course they do.
And also they've like, by the way, something like $500,000 on the table.
Here's
on
the
this
thing.
game. And the whole casino's watching them.
Here's the thing with poker, like, and I'm no poker expert, but Eric Roberts had an amazing hand. Michael Flatley had an amazing hand. They both saw it through to the end and met each other's raises, which is what you do when you have an amazing hand. And then at the end of it,
they both played the game perfectly.
Eric Roberts then goes to him, well played. It's like what? He did nothing. He did exactly what anyone would do if they had a fucking royal flush.
I guess the only thing
of course you go all in.
I guess what Eric Roberts is trying to say is that I can smell the shoe shine off your shoes and I can smell the clothes wash on your linen suit.
What was he on about?
I have no idea.
It's like, I can tell a lot about a man by the type of shoe shine he wears.
But sorry, two rich old men playing poker is just, there's no tension in that scene. And meanwall, Michael Flatley, this other shit going on in your hotel. Why are you
there's
indulging
two dead bodies in your hotel, man, and you haven't alerted the authorities. One of them you murdered. It's like,
no,
and then
he didn't murder Dave. Okay. Sorry, no.
He
it's
punched
entirely
him
believable.
3 times and he died.
No, Dave. It's entirely believable that Michael Flatley, who is an agent who's been out of action for 10 years, right? Drinking every night in a hotel, it seems like on the lash, he's been drinking a lot.
With his friend, and then he puts his forehead to them and says, to the end.
Yeah. He's at least 65, right? I don't know what age he's supposed to be. To me, it's entirely plausible that in 3 punches he can kill someone who's twice his size and half his age. Makes perfect sense. This person whose job is to be a professional hitman and bodyguard is extremely fit and muscular. Of course Michael Flatley could beat him up in 3 hits. There was not even an explanation for that. He felt his pulse and shook his head he's dead.
Here's another bit of information. We hear that bodyguard's name mentioned quite a lot throughout the movie.
Yeah.
So Eric Roberts tells Vivian, a lot. He says, she says, oh, why does Quan have to follow me? He says, I'm going to stick Quan on you.
Yeah, they said his name more than anyone else's name.
And then Eric Roberts is like, send Quan to get the disc back from Blackley. But then here's the funny thing: when after Michael Flatley or Vincent Blackley has given his confession to the priest.
That was so funny. He actually ran out of the confession box, and the priest's like, "You're grand." Then
the young girl comes in and says something like, they know that Quan is missing. and we're like, sorry, why do you know what Quan's name is?
And then he goes,
you have had no interactions
and also,
with those
you're
people.
The one who bloody ratted them
Yeah,
You're the one who caused all this chaos.
Why do you know the bodyguard's name?
Now I have to say, the only part of the movie I actually gasped at I didn't see coming was when they were on the boat.
Oh, and
that
Quan
whole
broke
scene,
the guy's neck.
I loved on the boat that showed Eric Roberts being an absolute lunatic. This guy, his tech guy, is has 2 minutes to make all these fraudulent bank transactions, right? Know what he's doing, but he's like, I have 2 minutes to do it, and it's imperative I get this right. And Eric Fox is like, nah, you pussy. He's drinking. I was like, God, he's really chaotic. I was really enjoying his energy, and then they just chuck someone over the boat. Then Quan just breaks someone else's neck, which I found really shocking, and I actually gasped. And I was like, God, I need more of that energy in the movie.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing really surprising happens at any point in the movie, right?
Well, no, Quan breaking someone's neck. Because it's actually unsurprising when Michael Flatley killed him, because what he should have done was Rocky Balboa style. You get hit and hit and hit while you're just standing and taking it until very end you finally win. Michael Flatley's no, I'll punch him 3 times and he's dead. It's so ludicrous.
It's so stupid, but it's boring. It's not interesting to watch. And also, but can we talk about that fight scene where they're I swear he said something there's this build up to it, and then the guys leave, and then there's and then it's and then he goes,
by the way, this is the climax of the film.
You didn't think I'd let you have all the fun, did you?
But this is the climax of the film, right? This is the scene where him and Eric Fox,
whoa, shit, it's all going to go down.
Yeah, facing
and then
off.
you get a moment of a helicopter shot where it's here's what it looks like from way up here. And I swear to God, that is the moment where as soon as this comes on a streaming platform or a DVD or whatever, I want someone to make a GIF of that helicopter shot and watch what Michael Flatley is doing in that moment, because I got a glimpse of it and it is incredible. So it's Michael Flatley
taking in the whole
with
scene.
2 guns,
yeah,
and is basically doing Lord of the Dance, because he's just going do. You can't see this on a podcast, but his hips are going mad.
I didn't see that. By the way, I didn't see it because this is the climax.
But he's
of the
also
film.
Standing perfectly still.
Dear listeners, this is the climax of the film. Michael Flatley and his mate, the guy from Game of Thrones, pull their guns. So does everyone else, Western style. 1 second later, the scene's over. We see the bodies fall and that's it.
No, but also, what's the outcome? Did the bad guys die?
Well, Eric Roberts fell to the ground. I could tell that much.
Okay, I
but
didn't even.
It was such a brief
I was too busy
scene,
looking at his hips.
and then it was just over. And then like the movie was over. I was like, I don't understand what happened.
No, the movie wasn't over. We got a little epilogue with like, everything's great now. Nick is back at the hotel, and there's like a sexy woman on his shoulder.
Nick's reading a book while his girlfriend stands behind him, stroking him, and I'm like, is this a happy ending for her?
Every woman in this movie is dressed in ridiculous, like either skimpy outfits or ball gowns.
You've brought me to my point that I did not want to forget. The blonde woman, the love interest. She's wearing a Deb's dress for the last act of this film.
Yeah.
Why is she a grown woman wearing that dress?
Because costume design by Michael Flatley.
Yeah, it's
Production
true.
design by Michael Flatley.
Can I also just say that I really enjoyed the fact that all the bad guys who run this like global weapons conglomerate.
Oh, I forgot about that.
They all wear rings.
They're so secret
rings.
they wear rings, yeah.
It's like, no, just in case anyone is wondering about what evil crime weapons conglomerate I'm in, I'm the one who wears this ring on their pinky. And I just have to say that one more thing.
Yeah.
Where am I? I'm trying to look because I actually wrote down some notes. Oh yeah, one more thing. Just the singer in general. I'm so upset. Like, when they say in films, when you criticize films and you're like, you know, do the female characters, the basic Bechdel test, do the female characters have any a storyline where there's two women who talk to each other, not about a man? No, right? So this movie immediately fails that test.
Yeah.
Fine. Because everyone in the movie is talking about Blackbird
Not
at
only
all
that,
times.
but it
So
sets
no one,
women's lib in film back 40 years.
no one would pass the Bechdel test in this film
Yeah.
because everyone's talking about Blackbird at all times. But secondly, it's like they actually truly only exist to serve his story, and that is like actually quite dark. And I think like Michael Flatley should have had some script supervision.
Yeah,
because
that's what I'm
it's
saying.
Weird, yeah.
Have anybody look at the script.
Yeah.
But it's like when he is the production company, he is the writer, he is the director.
It's Blackbird. It's a completely neutral production company that he's got nothing to do with. But finally, my biggest disappointment with this film is there's a dance scene, and instead of showing us his fucking feet, they just show us his cheeks, and he's just rubbing cheeks with this woman. And I thought he was
Cheek
going to
to
like
cheek.
twirl her around. They're going to have a dance scene, and I'd say he's like, I'm sick of being known as the dance guy. I don't want to be known as the dance guy.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's what you are. Like, embrace it. Your production company's called Dance Lord. Do you know what I mean?
He could have done the tango or
There
something.
could have been, yeah, exactly. There could have been, fine, don't do Riverdance, but like
Arnie had more moves than him at the beginning of True Lies.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, I was just thinking about that woman who's now presumably moving into his mansion with him. I just don't know how I'd feel about like living with a partner who's
Mourning
ex is-
their fiancé still after 10 years.
No, not that, because it's fine to mourn.
Yeah.
But as in, whose fiancé is actually buried in their back garden, and they stand in front of the grave all day, every day.
Yeah, and
That's
in
the
that,
bit I'm-
in that moment where you're uniting for the first time in the house, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
felt like I really don't think this guy is over her. I mean, she had a horrific death, by the way. That almost felt
Oh,
like
that
that was
was-
coming from a different movie.
That was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd like cut to that every now and then.
was
She's being burned to
awful,
life. We're
really
like,
awful.
What the fuck? And there seemed to be some implication that his friend, the Game of Thrones guy, caused it.
Yeah, what was that about? He was just like,
Don't know.
she shouldn't have been there, man.
They were
and
like
it's just
alluding,
like, well,
and he
is
said
that his fault?
They kept in these really dark flashbacks, and he was like, "I'm sorry, Blackbird." It's like, what did he do?
But yet they're still the best of friends.
yeah. So I don't know what was going on with any of that. But anyway,
You didn't
wow.
think I'd let you have all the fun, did
Honestly,
you?
talking about this movie is so much fun.
I had way more fun talking about this with you than I had watching it.
Well,
Which is why I think this movie would be better. I love cinema. Please go to the cinema. Support cinema. But this movie would be better at home with a few beers and a lot of friends laughing at it.
Yeah, that also is true.
Yeah.
I don't believe in watching it in clips because I don't think the clips are as funny in isolation. I think you need to be in the
Yeah,
movie
fine. But
and
just
like have the context.
Stick it on. It is short. Stick it on when it's on home video, or go to the cinema
Go to
if
the
you're
cinema.
if you're a real masochist like we are.
I do wish the cinema we were in was like one of the ones that had drink, because I think there would have been a much more
Yeah.
wild air to the evening if people were actually drunk while they watched this movie.
It was. You're right though. It was so jarring to watch Michael Flatley be like a close talker, be way too close to people on that movie and feel uncomfortable, while also there were people around us in the cinema wearing masks. It felt like that was a real weird, jarring experience.
It just felt like it felt so pre-pandemic.
It shows that the pandemic has scarred us, because I was deeply uncomfortable by how close he was.
To be honest, I think I would have always been uncomfortable by how close he was to me.
If Michael Flatley was ever that close to me, I'd be alarmed.
I feel like if you ever met him in real life, like he would just be like have his cheek touching yours. I'm just like really uncomfortable. So I'm really glad, that we haven't met.
Thank you so much, Kathy. You've really picked me up after this movie.
Great.
Talking about that movie.
My pleasure.
Thank you guys for listening to us for 250 episodes. I'm so I love that we get to do this all the time.
So fun.
Me and Kathy get to hang out, which we do anyway, but hang out with all of you guys. And that's kind of what the most fun of our podcast is just like talking to all of you people and getting to know you.
So please tell us what you thought of Blackbird.
Yeah, if you did go, I'd say most people did not go to that and just listen to the spoilers section. That's what I would do.
I think if they've done that, it's a terrible affront and they should go back and
go back and do your due diligence, guys.
But come find us on social, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, mainly on Twitter, at the Cinemile. And come over to Patreon, where we do a ton of TV reviews. So at the moment we're doing Game of Thrones and what's it called? Something of the Rings?
Rings of Power.
Rings of Power.
Just watched.
And we're also just about to watch a whodunit. Our patrons are voting on what the movie should be, but right now Who Framed Roger Rabbit is storming ahead in the polls. So we both hope
very
that wins.
likely going to be that.
And thank you, Dave, for bringing me out for such a wonderful date. I'm sorry about that moment in the cinema when I went off dancing with another man. Our cheeks were together. It was all very uncomfortable for everyone. But it's fine. He was just telling me my dress was nice.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, that's fine then.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned, and am about to sin again.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Hey, I'm Kim Holderness.
And I'm Ben Holderness.
We host the Holderness Family Podcast every Tuesday.
You may know us from the silly videos that we make online.
Or a book about marriage called Everybody Fights.
Or as winners of season 33 of The Amazing Race.
Still can't believe that happened. Listen, we do a lot of stuff, but our podcast is our most favorite thing.
Yeah, because every week we get to sit down face to face, talk to each other about marriage, family, mental health, or just anything that we want to know more about.
Sometimes we have expert interviews, sometimes it's just us, but our goal is to bring some joy and laughter into your life every week.
Our other goal is that maybe you will learn something as well.
Right. So search the Holderness Family Podcast and check out our most recent episodes. We have one about staying organized with creators of the Home Edit.
And one about being diagnosed with ADHD as an adult.
We hope you'll join us.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.